So when we sat down with you to talk about Dare, there's so much you could have covered, and you covered everything from marriage and being a mother to being an ad agency owner to now what you're doing with BLAC Creatives. Anything of that you're like, man, of my 20-minute talk, I could have talked even more about X.
Yeah.
What was that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I could give a whole talk about the experience in starting BLAC and how important it is, and about the people that I've met and the work that they are doing too. But yeah, I mean, I think what I love about BLAC is the community that has been formed, especially like within that group of interns. And I'm really sad that you don't get to hear from them and see what that program looked like from their experience and their perspective. But yeah, so that I could give a whole talk about. I could give a whole talk about women and in this business and a lot of the changes that this industry really needs, and that we got to do a lot of work in order to see those changes come.
And then it's a really, really big deal about this Small Ad Agency of the Year, so congratulations again on that. Did you know that was coming? Did you spend a lot of work on that? Tell us a little bit more about, for us not in the industry.
Yeah, so Ad Age, Small Agency of the Year, we have had our sights on that for a number of years. And the team really did. I mean, we've looked at what does it take? What do you need to be doing? And it was actually the creative team, Whit and Tim and Jason Majeski. Each of the different departments within Cornet, we set goals this past year, and we put them down on paper, and we check in and work together to try to meet those. So last year we met every week as a leadership team to check in and see, like, one, how are our people? How's everybody doing? How's our clients? What do they need? But also, how are we doing? Are we going to get to our goals? What do we need? What are we missing in order to get to those goals? But the creative department, they said that their goal was to become an Ad Age Small Agency of the Year. And that is because you have to do big, great work. You have to be doing a lot of it. It's not just one thing. You got to be consistently hitting the type of work that people will write about, will talk about. So that's why they set that. But then we as an agency, we really got behind that because you also have to be a really great agency. And you have to have a good culture. You have to be supporting your people. And then you got to be pushing this industry. And part of that is because the industry needs a lot of pushes. So it took everybody really to get that award. It took the creative team doing the work. It took everybody in the agency really being willing to share what they needed for Cornet to be great to them. And then it took everybody delivering on that and answering that. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then peel back the onion to what it for us not in the ad agency world, what does that mean? What does that look like? What is it like to work for an ad agency?
It's really fun. I was talking to Larry this morning because the ad business, it's just always changing, every part of it. So, media, the landscape of media is changing every single day. So you got to keep up with that, and consumers and what they do and their mindsets, but then also the market. A business can be in a market and you can have really solid laid plans, but then you can wake up and tomorrow a new brand comes into that market and they've got, a new way of doing it, and it can totally disrupt, and you got to change your plans. Or COVID could come and you got to change your plans. So you have to be really agile. You've got to love to learn. You've got to be willing to change. You've got to push yourself every day. I was saying this morning, I could walk in, and I do. I walk in to work and I learn something every day. There are people like Peter who know things that, just blow my mind, and I love that. I love to learn. So it is a business that if you love to learn, you'll love it because it's constantly going to change. But it's demanding. It's deadlines, and but it's also creative. So there's this inspiring part, but there's also this part that's really hard, and you got to figure things out, and you got to really have great clients that you can sit next to, and you can work through those challenges. What's going on in your business? What can we do? How can we get creative to really drive your business forward? We're in the business of driving other people's business, so relationships are important. It's a lot of different things, and I love all parts of it. That's why I've done it for 20 years, because it never gets old. There's always more, but it's also people. And so if you love all those things, you'd love it.
This is my last question before I'm going to the audience. Do you have a favorite project or campaign, or I'm sure it's going to be hard to choose, that you want to tell everyone about?
Yeah, I have many. A lot. We've done a lot of really great work, but I would say we are really proud of the work that we did this past year for Visit Lex, for this city. We love working with Lexington because it's the city that we live and we work and we play. But and they allow us to play a lot with their brands, so that's really fun. But we, in the middle of a pandemic when not many people were traveling, we found a way to get them some attention, a lot of attention. Almost 700 million impressions, actually. And we did that. It was, I'm not sure if Kathy, it was actually Kathy that had this idea first. But so Queen's Gambit was a big show on Netflix, and last year nobody was traveling, but they were all watching a lot of Netflix. So Queen's Gambit was based here in Lexington. So the idea was to work with the 21C Hotel and create a Queen's Gambit inspired hotel room. And so Isabel, so many people, it's fantastic. So many people worked on this. Isabel, we called her, and she's an amazing decorator and designer. And so we worked with her on what that hotel could look like, and we had chess pieces on the ceiling, and it was amazing because we also did it in such a short amount of time, like, I don't know, 10 days. Yes, there you go. I mean, and that was like, custom designed wallpaper, and they installed it. I mean, it was wild, but the team was so excited. Everybody was really excited to make it happen. So we did, and it paid off big. And actually, a lot of that was played into the ad agency, Small Agency of the Year win too. That's some of that big work that you got to be doing.
Yeah, it is really fun, and I can definitely sense the passion and the relationships you guys have with Lexington, with all the small businesses and food and beer and brewery and the support. And you can probably see that by who's in the room today, that you've worked with and built those relationships. And I've really seen that. I can feel the relationship part of the work. So now, what questions do you guys have? All right, Dan.
Christy, will you make Jamie answer that last question?
That would actually be really funny because I know what it is.
Oh, no. Thanks, Dan and Christy. Oh, have you ever peed in a hot tub? And yes, I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Great question.
What other question?
Wait, you guys, real quick. Actually, I do want to take a minute and thank Jamie and thank Jason Majeski, because these two are two of the original 5 that brought Creative Mornings to Lexington. But they've never stopped. They've never stopped pushing this community and bringing this community together, even through last year, which was really hard. And this is an awesome community. the creative community in Lexington, it's big and it's strong and it's critical to making this city super cool. So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Well, and let's see if you got, yeah, if no one else has a question, but we'll come back. We're still waiting. You talked about the creative community here in Lexington. So anything that you think it does really well, or any of the areas that we still need to grow, just in general, outside of even the ad agency?
Yeah, I mean, I would say every year this creative community is growing. Lexington, one thing that Lexington does really well is foster the creative community. So, you know, and I would say growing up, I don't know that I would have seen or said like, oh, it has like this really amazing creative community, but it does. And I think what is so beautiful and different about Lexington is there's a lot of history that the city holds, but there's also so much open-mindedness and willing to do different things, to think about different things. So, and I think that the community here isn't one thing either. It's a lot of different types of creativity. And so that's what I love about it. It's like, it's all kinds of different creative disciplines and people. It's not just great food or great music, or it's a lot of really interesting. I see a lot of app harvest mass. I mean, there's a ton of innovation. There's a ton of creativity in this city. It's crazy. I feel like when people get to know Lexington, when they come here and they get to know it, their minds are really blown. Everybody's so surprised. We do that at Cornet. You know, people are always so surprised, like, how in the world are you guys doing that in Lexington, Kentucky? You know, competing with big agencies from anywhere, and we do, and we win, and that's so surprising to people. But that's what we also want to change. We want there to be a day when people are like, no, yeah, that's Lexington. That's just what it is. It's creative.
Yeah, it's even in the 5 years since we've been doing Creative Mornings, it just seems to be growing and fostering. And I feel like we also stand on shoulders of lots of people who've done lots of work to grow this more creative community here in Lexington for many, many years. I saw Amy had a question. And then
Great message, Christy. Thank you. You mentioned the award. Part of it was having the workplace be something people enjoy. And so I'm just curious, what are some of the things you do to keep your employees creative and happy and motivated?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is just listen. You know, listen to our team. We have a leadership team that is fantastic, and they're constantly bringing and taking a pulse. Like, what do you need? And then like just doing that. What I have found is everybody needs something different. It's kind of like a Montessori approach. I don't know, you know, like you really have to value the differences of people, and you have to build a workplace that can support a lot of different things, because what fulfills one person and what inspires one person is different from what fulfills and inspires the next person. So I think really just like genuinely caring about your people will go a long way, and listening and then actually like taking that and doing something with it. Somebody asked me earlier today, do you like to speak publicly? And I don't really love to speak publicly. But that's because I'm a worker. I really that is more my thing than like being a face person. I really want to get in there with people. And all of our people, all of our leadership team is a lot like that. So I think I'd go back to that word community too, just like really caring and wanting to build a good community.
Thank you. And then we had one here, and then we'll go to you.
So I have two questions. I have time.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, thank you for
Yeah. Thank you for being willing to do that. That was really fun.
So my first question, so you talked about this creative community in Lexington.
Yeah.
I'm a creative myself. I'm a native of Lexington, but I have not seen this community that you speak of.
Yeah.
So what are you all doing to bridge this gap? Because I know of in the Black community, the creative people that I surround myself around, that I haven't seen really a lot of the people in this room that are probably creative. So what is Cornette doing? What are you all doing to bridge that gap, to bring us together? Because you probably didn't even know I was creative, just like
I didn't, yeah.
So that's the first question, and then
It's a great
my
question.
second question is about the BLAC program.
Yeah.
Or
BLAC, yeah.
So I know that was an internship-based program.
Yeah.
Are you all looking to expand to go into, or to, I guess, contracts creatives like myself?
Yes.
Who already have agencies?
Yeah. All awesome questions and discussions that I don't know that we have all the answers to yet, but I would love to sit down with you and talk about how do we build up this community, one community, where we really know each other and we know each other's gifts and talents and we're using them and we're connected so that we can use them. So BLAC. Yeah. Fantastic.
I started out as a dreamer, and I encourage all of you all to tap into your superpower of dreaming. Don't listen to this world. This world will tell you that your value is based on your condition, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
In the industry of ideas, in the market of ideas, all ideas are going to be rejected 1,000 times. Great ideas are going to be rejected 10,000 times because great ideas are hard and difficult and are going to make people uncomfortable.
You're being fed things that connect to your interests all the time. And to a degree, when you're creative, you have to go out of the way to get out of that loop and to challenge the loop of the things that it says are you, especially in this data-driven way, because that's where you're going to get new insight, perspective, and information that's going to kind of fuel you to think about things differently.
Hi, I'm Kate Ventrino, one of the interns this summer for Building Leaders and Creators. The reason why I wanted to join this program was because I wanted to meet other creators of color like myself, understand how creativity plays a huge role in advertising, and finally, being able to continue making changes in conversations about diversity and inclusion and what that means in all kinds of spaces.
Poetry is the way we build, break, embrace, and flourish. Poetry is when bad endings become new beginnings. Poetry is when you get lost and found and sheet of paper blind by heard in a crowd you didn't see vibing to your shit. It's my tool for my liberation and my empowerment. It is my muse, it is my culture, it is my love. Poetry is a part of me. Poetry inside DC. Poetry is me. Thank y'all.
Yeah, so BLAC, it is an internship program, and it's not just for folks that are in school. It's a paid internship program. So the idea really is to pull anybody that is interested in pursuing a career in advertising. Not a lot of folks think, creativity. Sometimes you think you're creative, but you don't really know how that translates to advertising. So the goal of it really is to introduce advertising as a career path for people who either know about it or don't know about it or aren't considering it. So it was this past year an 8-week program, but next summer it's going to be a 12-week paid internship program. And you get to come in and discover all the different parts and play different roles and work on assignments for the agency, but also for P&G. P&G was a sponsor, and so they came to us with 4 brand briefs, and it's all the interns. The interns do the work. It's not us doing that work, but that allowed them to work together, and that's really where they found that community. So that's a piece of it, BLAC, and I do hope that gets more people thinking about joining the agency. But we're really intentional also about wanting to make connections with any type of creative person, and both, like, work together, whether you come to Cornette and we want that, or we work together and we find projects to work together. But I think it's just being intentional. That's the only thing I can really think of is like we have to be intentional if we're going to see change, and we want to see change. So I would love to connect. And I would love to hear any thoughts you have too.
And thank you for the question as well. I think that was a dare in itself, just being able to ask that question. And something some other Creative Morning speakers have talked about is, we do talk about how creative Lexington is, but not everyone sees or feels that way. So I do really appreciate that comment. And we're going to do one last question here.
So it seems like you all at Cornett has a little bit of a formula with talent retention. That you all are doing a great job there. With the workforce issues that COVID has really shined a light on, have you all had to shift your talent recruitment strategy? If so, how have you all done that?
Yeah, well, these are kind of connected a little bit. So I was at a conference the past couple days, and a lot of agencies were talking about how hard it is, and they're having a really hard time finding people. And what they're doing to try to make that easier for the agency. And I had to say, well, actually, we're just making it harder, because one of the things we at Cornett are committed to is really changing the face of Cornett, and we're really committed to being more diverse. So we are requiring that 50% of every job position that we're looking to fill, 50% of the candidates will be BIPOC. So that means that we have to look in different places. We can't rely on the same way that we've done it of like, oh, hey, we've got this position. Who do you know? Because if we are only pulling in people that we know, we're not going to get to where we want. We need new perspectives, because the work everything will be better. And everybody is bought into that. So even though I say it's hard, I think our team is like, we're all in. And it's about relationships. So we got to be building these relationships. We got to be having these conversations. We got to be making these connections. So I don't know that totally answers your question. It's harder, but it's got to be. I mean, people, a lot of these agencies, what I was also hearing them say is like, they're just, you have to be willing to change the way that you're doing things to attract new people, because especially the younger folk, they don't want to work in that same type of thing. And so you can't be asking people, and it's not even about money, I mean, it is, you got to pay people well and fairly, but it's more than that. So you got to figure out what is it that they need. And again, it always comes back to just listening to people. Yeah.
Well, any last nugget before we wrap up and say thank you that you want to give to the audience?
No, I mean, I would just reiterate what Creative Morning says. We are all creative. And so I think part of this too is, continue to push yourself, continue to learn and push each other, really just also help other people discover what it is and talk about creativity and shine the light on it, because truly we are. I mean, I really, even though I've been in advertising for almost 20 years, it wasn't until a few years ago that I really started getting comfortable saying I'm creative. I always thought of myself, no, I'm more like, I'm the strategy, I'm not creative. But we are all creative. And so embrace that and pull more people into it.
Well, thank you, Christy. Let's give her one more round of applause. It's just so fun to be back in person, to have some of the magic of face-to-face, to be seeing you guys, to be connecting. We had some amazing coffee. We had some amazing food. We heard something inspiring. So hopefully you'll go off today and you will just have an amazing day until our next one in a month. And so be looking for an email on our announcement. We will continue to have these in real life as well as a streaming version. And then for anyone who didn't catch it, we always package this up into a nice talk, and we put that on our channel in about 2 weeks so people can catch her talk in about 2 weeks. And so we will do it every month and continue. And thank you guys as well for the additional guidance that we were given from Creative Mornings headquarters. It has been very easy and smooth this morning. So I like to end with our Creative Mornings motto is everyone is creative and everyone is welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here today.